Right After President's podcast.
Hi all, my name is Natalia Vasileva, and this is my podcast called Right After Presidents, where I help people with their job searches and review their resumes. And today I'm going to review a resume of a wonderful lady called Maria. She is a US citizen. She has been working in the US for 10 years, and currently she is employed as a contractor for T-Mobile. She is a senior engineer / TPM, and she wants to find a job as a permanent employee for technical program manager position in IT. And I'm very happy to help. So first, I'm looking at Maria's resume and I want to give a few comments. Not many of them actually, because the resume is great. It's very wonderfully structured. So I see her first name and last name involved in the very top. Then I see her state and city and zip code, her phone number, her email, and she says that she is a US citizen, work authorized. That's great, a great heading to the resume. The only thing I would add here is LinkedIn profile link. However, it's not 100% necessary, but I know that people like it. Like many HRs will go and look up your LinkedIn profile as well. The next section is professional summary. It is very precise, exactly what we need here. Technical program manager with 10 plus years of experience in technology and data analytics. I think it looks great. There is nothing additional required in professional summary. Just the name of the position with X many years of experience in and the field in which you worked. The only thing, Maria lacks a dot here, so yeah, it shall be a dot in the end of the sentence, but otherwise, awesome. The next session is key skills, which is very nicely organized. So she has project program management skills, like Agile, Scrum, etc., data analysis skills, like SQL, API, Python, etc., and data visualization and excellent oral and written communication skills. Great. No dots in the end of the bullet points. That's awesome. That it should be so. The only thing, the last excellent oral and written communication skills, I don't know, it sounds a little bit generic and expected from people. Like, I would write here something more specific for program management position. An example can be a stakeholder management. That's what comes to my mind. Otherwise, unfortunately, I can't talk a lot about TPM position specifics because I'm an analyst. I never interviewed or written my resume for a TPM position. So what I actually recommend here when you think about what to write in the key skills section is to look at the job ads that you like, where you want to apply, and see what they include in their basic and preferred qualifications. Especially look at the basic and add whatever they add there. And try to use very similar language. Ideally the same keywords as they use in their job ads. That way it will be very easy for either HR or processing software to find what they need in your resume. And the rule of thumb here is that you need at least 80% of basic qualification to make sure that you are applicable to this role. I know that some people will also send their resume if they have, I don't know, like 60 to 80%. It's a bit more risky, but it doesn't hurt to try, so why not? But yeah, if you have 80% of basic qualifications and maybe some of preferred, then don't worry at all. Just send your resume to them and that's it. Cool. I think that's it about key skills. Maria asked me about correct keywords, task description for project manager in her resume, and if she has any skills missing. Unfortunately, I can't answer this question directly, again, because I don't know TPM specifics. But yeah, looking at the positions that is interesting to Maria will help a lot. Yeah, in key skills, you can just copy paste whatever they list there. The only thing to keep in mind is that some skills, even if they are written in job ads, can be considered as obvious skills required from any person. And yeah, excellent oral and written communication skills can be an example of such skills. Another thing that I would actually add here is about languages. That's what you can add because you know more than one language, obviously, because Maria was an immigrant. So yeah, if you know any language except for English, it actually doesn't hurt to mention it as the last key skill. It shall be the last because it's not a basic qualification required for majority of roles that people apply for, but it's a nice skill. Next section, experience. Maria has a very long experience, so she's been working since 2008. And she has a very diverse experience. So her last role is senior engineer TPM in T-Mobile, where she spent basically 10 years since 2013. And before that, she was progress controller in Huawei in Moscow, network implementation engineer in Nokia, project coordinator in Gameloft, and radio network engineer in Netplan in Ukraine. So from what I see here, yes, she has a very long work experience, but only her last role is directly applicable to the positions that she wants to apply for right now. So I would actually leave only this in experience section. And all the rest I would add to additional experience, which is another section, to show the employer that only the last role is relevant. And also in one of her questions, Maria asked me about looking overqualified due to years of experience, and I think that can help. So whatever is not directly relevant to the role you're applying for goes to additional experience. So now about the senior engineer TPM experience. Maria mentions T-Mobile here, and this is the company she works on contract for. She asks if she has to mention her real employer here. The answer is no. And she doesn't have to mention that she is a contractor as well, because if HRs need it, they will ask and she can say, but otherwise no reason to mention this. Because you're basically doing the same job as a permanent employee would do. So it's okay as it is. So she says senior engineer TPM, T-Mobile, San Francisco Bay Area, US. That's great. And then goes October 2013 till present. That's great. The only thing I would put these timelines to the right just to have them visible, easily readable for HRs. And I see Maria does it for her other workplaces, but not for this one. So just put it to the right corner. And then Maria has great bullet points here, really awesome ones. A lot of figures in her last workplace. So, for instance, she says she gathered requirements for end users to build the map-based software. She talks a little bit about this software. And then she says implementation increased T-Mobile revenue by 10 million. by $10 million, I mean. That's great. Awesome bullet point. Second one, launched SON platform together with the development team that built 87 custom modules, which increased network capacity, blah, 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 and reduced operational cost by saving 10,000 engineer operation hours. Wow, that's awesome. That looks great. That shows the scale. That shows an awesome scale. So I really like these bullet points. The only thing, 10,000, I would add a comma for 1,000 separator just to make this figure a little bit more readable. Okay. Yeah, she has a number of great bullet points. I won't read them all. Just another one that I have a comment on is she worked with the client's leadership stakeholders at the national and regional levels to improve SON product adoption by users, provided user trainings. As a result, the user base increased by 1,500. So here, my question is, it increased to 1,500 from what? Like, what increase was a result of Maria's work here? I don't know, like, if it was 10 users, 1,000 users, 1,400. I just know that it increased to 1,500. So yeah, need a little bit more context here. Otherwise, it's great. So basically she has 4 awesome figures per last work experience. And that's great. So the rule of thumb here is at least 1 figure per workplace. It makes sense that this is very long experience she has in T-Mobile, like 10 years. It makes sense to add more, what Maria successfully does. So I really love how she explains her last and main work experience. The only thing, like a minor thing I see here, so she writes, provided support to the users for security certificate installation, MS Azure user group setup. So setup is 1 word if it's a noun. She has it written as 2 words. Yeah, I think a good recommendation is to put your resume into grammar checks all the time, because it doesn't take much time. It's like 5 minutes max, but it makes your resume look neat if there is no grammar mistakes. And I really love that all the bullet points here are in past simple, as it is required, and all of them start with a verb. It's awesome. I really like how Maria explains her main work experience here. Okay, then Maria has her additional work experience, which shall be a separate section, and not many bullet points are needed for additional work experience. Basically, 1 or 2 major bullet points per workplace are enough for additional work experience. You write it just to show people that you did something that probably is at least partly relevant to your new job. If it's not relevant at all, and if it's like very long ago, you may exclude it completely. It doesn't matter, especially when you talk about like 10 years ago. It does not really matter that much for your next employer. So if you have something to show, then it makes sense to add. If that work was completely irrelevant, then maybe excluded completely. So just looking at her workplaces and adding a few comments. So her previous workplace was progress controller in Huawei in Moscow in 2012-2013. Her first bullet point is established plan for RAN development, outlined requirements for coverage, capacity, quality, equipment, software, and feature roadmaps. I think a great bullet point, very relevant for project manager, at least it seems so to me as a non-specialist. So I think it's worth having this bullet point and this workplace. But her second bullet point is defining project strategy, coverage planning, 2000 plus E-Node BS in Russia Central region. I think it's a good one as well. The only thing, it starts from defining, it shall be a verb in past simple. All the bullet points shall start from the verb in past simple in your work experience. So it shall be defined project strategy. And yeah, so 2000 plus, please add 1,000 separator. It will be much more readable. Then regional site data management in customer database. Firstly, I think it's not very relevant to project manager role. Secondly, it doesn't start from the verb in past simple. So I would actually just delete it here. But if you think it's relevant, if you want to leave it, then please start from the verb in past simple. And continuous intercommunication with building subcontractors and customer or Telecom. This probably is a good one, but also shall start from the verb in past simple. Okay, the next workplace is network implementation engineer in Nokia. The first bullet point here, as part of global network implementation center team, lead the integration of 10 regions and track the milestones achievement through EPM. So firstly, please start all the bullet points from the verb in past simple. This, as part of global network implementation center team, you can put in the end. It doesn't matter here. And yeah, I think the bullet is probably a good one for program manager. But yeah, sorry, I can't say for sure. And the second one, developed operational project reporting, which led to efficient tracking of performed work and saved $100K. That's great. Yeah, why not? And then her next work experience was project coordinator reporting business analyst in GameLoft. There she monitored and analyzed daily, monthly sales and user behavior reports based on statistics and advanced usage of Excel, MySQL for global mobile apps, video games publisher and developer, collaborated with engineering and product team to improve user experience, used internal reporting tools to generate sales and user behavior reports. These I don't know. It's analytics. One thing, it's good. Like, I know that product managers do analytics a lot, for sure. I don't know about project managers. If it's relevant, leave it. If not, then you can delete this one and radio network engineer as well. So that's it about work experience. Major part here is just separate work experience from additional experience, and that would be great. Next section is education. Maria has master's degree from Kharkiv National University. Yeah, she has her dates 2003, 2008 to the right. That's great. And she also has Google Project Manager certificate that she got in September 2022. Very neat, very precise, awesome. Nothing to add here. These parts are great. And now let me quickly look through the questions that Maria sent me. So I already answered part of them, but I see there are a few additional ones. So Maria's goal is to work at Google within 1 or 2 years. Her question is what FAANG companies like Google need for this role and what should be the previous employer. She is advised not to apply to Google interview because results are being kept by HR. She is advised to transition to lower tier companies and then interview with Google. she asks if this is common practice and what could be her potential employers. Actually, my first thought on that is bullshit. Sorry. I really think so, because my own experience, my own history, I came to the US 2 years ago with no job, and I was looking for a job here. I was applying everywhere I could. I sent a huge number of resumes, and 2 companies that offered me the job were Raybeam, which is middle-sized data analytics company, and Amazon, which is my current employer. I never worked in the US. I never worked in big companies in my career before. I was in hedge funds, which are mostly privately owned tiny companies, like 20, 30 employees max. And I got my position in Amazon. So when people say to you that it's impossible, just don't believe them. If they like you, they will take you. And about interview results being kept by HR, I don't know exactly. Probably they keep something, but I don't think that they can discriminate you on this. I know that if you get a rejection from Amazon, you can't apply for probably 6 months. That's a common practice, because basically company thinks that if you are rejected right now, you need some time to gather experience and skills that you lacked. And these can take at least 6 months. So that's true, that exists. But otherwise, yeah. I, for instance, personally interview in Amazon. When I interview, I don't see any previous history of the employee, so it won't impact my opinion at all, for sure. HRs, I don't know, probably. But then I think the best way to go to these big companies, big tech, is through referrals. Like, you can ask for referrals on social media. If you don't know anybody from the company, you can just write in some Facebook group, for instance. Like, I don't know, in Seattle, we have work chat. You can ask, like, if there is somebody from the company that you look for. Google, for instance, ask if people can refer you. And usually they do. Like, why not? If they can look at your resume. If it looks good for them, they can easily refer that. And if the company doesn't take you, like, it doesn't hurt an employee who referred you at all. And if they take you, employee gets a nice bonus. So yeah, many people are very open to do it. And I am also very open to do it for those who want to get to Amazon. Because that's actually the way I personally got to Amazon myself. I was referred by a very nice man who is my work colleague now. And yeah, probably it increased my chances to go through HR processing. But I had to do all of the rest interviews for sure, like phone screen and then interview loop, which is like 5 to 6 interviews for the external candidates. So I think my answer to this question is no. Apply directly to Google. Don't listen to people who think you can do it. But also my advice here is apply as much as you can. It doesn't hurt to be rejected, but it hurts when you send 2 little resumes, because not everybody will answer you. Those who answer, not everybody want to move on with you to further interview stages, etc., etc. So I think when you look for the job, one of the most defining factors is how many resumes you send per day, per week, etc. As many as you could. basically, I think a good strategy is just look for the positions that you like in any company and apply for all of them. If you have a few offers, that's great. You will be able to choose, you will be able to bargain, you will have a little bit more leverage, etc. So that's my answer. Okay, another question is about if Maria is overqualified. This I said, just put whatever professional experience you have extra to additional work experience. But then, yeah, like you have 10 years of experience on your last position. So there, not for the resume, rather for the interview, you need to have a story of how you grew in your last company. Because yes, 10 years is a lot. On one hand, it's good because you are loyal, you worked so many years for your employer, and yeah, why not? On the other hand, I would suspect that many interviewers will have a question of why you spent so many years in this company. And I think a good answer is that it was interesting. They always offered you new projects. They always offered you a potential to grow professionally. And I saw that in LinkedIn, Maria actually mentioned that she was an engineer first and then a senior engineer. So that's great. You were promoted at your previous workplace. So you need to talk about this, but also you can talk about exciting projects that you were doing. And maybe the scope of your role was changing a bit. Maybe you were trying like yourself with different tasks, etc. So you need to have a good story of your professional growth in T-Mobile. And that would be it, I think. Otherwise, you won't look overqualified. The next question is if she has to mention her current official employer, the company she works for legally, when she is a contractor to T-Mobile. Yeah, as I said, the answer is no. And I see that in resume, Maria mentions T-Mobile, but in LinkedIn, she has her official employer. Yeah, even in LinkedIn, just mention T-Mobile. You can mention that it's contractor in LinkedIn. They have this drop down. So the only case in which I say not to mention your current employer is when they explicitly asked you not to do it. And I had such experience. One hedge fund that I was working for as an external contractor at some point stopped working with us because we were in Lithuania, they were in Great Britain. They did not want this affiliation with Lithuania anymore. They had some investor issues because of that, and they asked us not to mention their name in our LinkedIn profiles anymore. This is the only case when you should not mention your employer. Otherwise, just say the company that you did the work for. The next question is about education certification that I can recommend Maria for this role. Unfortunately, I can't because I don't know project manager specifics. I heard about PMI certificates, but yeah, I'm not an expert, so I would not recommend anything. The only thing that I can say here with certainty is that the employer will take you for your previous experience, not for your education. So if you have experience, if you can show that you can do the work, then it doesn't matter which education or certification you have. Your master is great. So yeah, some roles require bachelor, some roles require master. It's great that you have master, but additional education is just for yourself, not for the employer. It's nice to have it in resume in the very end, but nobody will assess you on that. The only thing what education can be helpful for. You can do educational projects and you can train the skills that you don't have. And then it's actually not important for the interviews and for your future employer if you were paid or not for the projects that you did. So if you can go study somewhere and do educational projects there, you can easily add those projects in your resume, and sometimes they are actually even better than professional work experience because you can show, I don't know, like for developers, for instance, you can show the code in GitHub. You won't sign any NDAs. That's why it's helpful. But otherwise, I think you have a lot of work experience, so education is just for yourself. And the last question is what to do with the gaps in timeline when no relevant experience was gained. Should it be removed from the resume and modified to look as close as requirements are? Both. You can do both. You can remove whatever is not relevant, and you can modify whatever you think is indirectly relevant, but everything shall be in additional work experience section. And the last thing, Maria writes to me that she's trying to expand the field to generic IT rather than sticking to telecommunications only. And she has her whole career in telecommunications. But actually, I don't feel that it's that important. I think that project manager skills are very transferable and technical project manager as well. Yeah, I don't think that it would be the issue. Probably Maria may get the question about why she wants to go to some other industry from telecommunications where she had majority of her experience, but she can easily say that she wants to move on, she wants to gain additional new experience, she wants to try herself in other industries that may be interesting for her as a person. Maybe she's just curious about the products that Google does, etc. Maybe she just feels passionate about them. And that's a great thing to say at the interview. For instance, I just changed my career. Like I had 8 years in finance. I'm sick and tired of it. I want to be more in data and business. And that's what I was actually saying at my interviews. And yeah, I got the position. So it means that people were okay with that. Probably they liked it. Some people would not be okay with that, but then they would not answer you. And those who answer, they would see that your work experience is in telecom. And if they are okay to invite you to the interview, then it's up to them. Many employers actually like people who have their careers in many industries because that adds this diverse expertise to the table and to the team. Yeah, many people do appreciate it. It feels that lately it's becoming normal when people change their careers multiple times during their life. That just shows that you are a curious, well-rounded person. That's it. Thanks a lot for Maria to providing her resume for the review. I hope that was helpful to Maria and others. Thank you so much. See you next time.